and welcome to Create Utopia. You're starting right now.
In which hosts Chicory and Zero muse over many issues in the style of so many modern millennials, all around the peaceful, flickering light of video games. We hope you enjoy it. Now on with the show.
Where this week, we're playing Faster Than Light. Woo! I didn't even ask you, Zero. Screw you.
Chicory is showing her imperialist conqueror roots right now.
It's so true.
And on that note, where do you want to get us started?
Oh my god. The same place as always, Zero. My family and Facebook. And how some people believe that indigenous people of America should be happy that they were saved from their savagery by Europeans because Spanish and English and French and other people brought horses because horses and farming saved them, I guess. Sure, we'll go with that.
All right, so I know that you have already rebuked certain members of your family for making these comments. So I'm actually going to avoid that. Let's instead talk about misconceptions about Christopher Columbus. And you, as people on this ship know,
Yeah.
or people who have listened to this show before should know, but let's remind them, you have a degree in anthropology, correct?
I do! For all the good it's done me. I am proud of my anthropology degree. I love anthropology. Go science! But also it sort of teaches you that, how can I say this? Colonialism, man. It's a thing. Probably not for the best.
Colonialism, a thing.
Yeah. It fucked with a lot of people's lives, one way or the other.
And I believe we were talking about how Columbus didn't discover or prove the Earth was round. Sailors already knew the Earth was round.
Lots of
Columbus
people already knew.
Planner.
Yeah, he fucked up his math. He really misgauged his math and didn't really bring like enough food and fresh water and stuff. And if he hadn't, it wasn't even really his thing. If he hadn't lucked onto not even North America. That's the part that kind of I think I learned today I didn't even learn today. I thought maybe he had touched on, I know he landed in, the Caribbean, but I thought he had at least touched on North America. Turns out no, just Central America.
Nope.
He never even came to North America. Central America, Belize, and the Caribbean does not actually count as North America. Mexico counts as North America. He didn't go to Mexico. He went to Belize and Guatemala and the Caribbean, Cuba.
It's true.
And
yeah.
What were you telling me about that old school Italians like kind of made up Columbus Day to be like, hey, we did cool stuff too back in the day. Like, don't hate us so much.
Well, so yeah, the thing that people forget in the United States a lot is that we have a long history of racism, and that the enslavement of Africans is America's original sin, where it was like freedom for everybody except those guys, 'cause inferiority.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, it's really important to note that when the Irish came over, people thought that they were an inferior race.
Yeah.
When Italians started moving in, people thought they were an inferior race. And I mean that literally. Like, people you wouldn't even notice on the street not to be, like, generic white person were considered a totally different race of people.
It's true. Actually, there used to be, in old school anthropology, like way old, not even that way old school, but old school anthropology, they would have lists of, like, best to worst races, and it was like best was always like Greeks and Romans because they were like, these are like the classics, and then it would be English and or French, like one of the two, and then it would like go down the list, and like Asian and African would always be like the lowest, but Italian and other Mediterranean would be near the bottom, and then Irish and Welsh because nobody liked them. I don't really know why. Just prejudice. Years of prejudice.
Because they rebelled against the proper English.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really is just years of prejudice. And I encourage everybody to go and learn Welsh and Irish on Duolingo because it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Duolingo, check it out.
Yeah, it's... So that was the thing. People would say you are an inferior race. And the result of that was they needed a hero. And Christopher Columbus, in all legitimacy, was Italian. So they said, well, you wouldn't even be here if our guy hadn't discovered it. And so it was like, I was mentioning on how the veneration of Christopher Columbus was the attempts to prove that Italian lives were important. I quoted it as being the Italian version of Black Lives Matter. Like, here's how we prove to you that we are important as a people.
Yeah. Because if you want to, like, venerate explorers and, like... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If it was really about venerating, like, explorers and people that people that traveled around and not found new people, because people are always found. They always know themselves, you know? But open trade routes and things like that. Really, we should be all about Marco Polo because he rocked and was friends with the Khan of Khans.
It's true.
I watched that Netflix original.
Marco Polo is definitely a better guy. I didn't actually. Was it good?
Oh my gosh, it was so good. Tangent Time. It was really good.
Was it really? It was bad reviews.
Really? I mean, I don't know why. It was not whitewashed at all. Like, that was maybe one of my favorite things. Is
maybe
legit.
That's why it got bad reviews.
Legit, Marco Polo is the only white guy on the show, and his like dad and uncle, which are in like 4 episodes.
It's sad to say that could be why it got bad reviews.
Oh, maybe. I mean, some of the writing was like a little clunky, but most of it is really, really good. And I don't know otherwise.
That's cool.
Mark and I basically watched it for the Khan of Khans. Like, we love that actor. He's really cool.
You were all about that Genghis?
You know, it's not Genghis. It's not Genghis. This is like grandson.
Kublai?
Yeah, Kublai Khan.
That's cool.
Genghis was already dead when Marco Polo was around.
Because it got such bad reviews.
Dude, check it out. It's really cool.
People give it such terrible reviews that I didn't watch it.
The opening was like all the painting and stuff like that. It was really cool. I don't know. Maybe it's like...
Huh.
I was talking to somebody about this today where I was reading a review a long time ago of Twilight. This is secondary tangent. And they were like, well, it's really, really racist because... this person found it to be racist because, you know, it was sort of mystifying Native Americans and treating them like they weren't really having their own voice and all of this other kind of stuff. And they had a really powerful article about it. And I was like, well, now I'm like interested as like an anthropologist. Like, would I read this and pick up on these things coming from like, you know, only an undergraduate sort of very white perspective? And there were like some things that I was like, this is really weird. Like, Stephanie Meyer has this thing where if you have the same skin tone and like hair type, you look like exactly the same. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true in any way. Like, that's pretty racist. And
I've had 2 partners who are actually big Twilight fans. Those books are not very good. I understand that people like them, and I read a lot of Star Wars books growing up, so I'm not the person to bash for like people enjoying books that are not very good.
Yeah,
but
it's like liking candy, you know?
No, but I'm sure you're going to explain it.
Okay,
It's bad for you, but you enjoy it. It's like cigarettes or something.
I was gonna go with it's bad for you, but you enjoy it, and it's also very easy. It's easy to digest, or it's easy to like ingest. It's very non-threatening.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's definitely that. Well, one of my partners phrased it as it's one of those relationships that growing up you're told you're supposed to want as a female. Whether or not it's actually healthy, it's one of those fantasy relationship that is the type you're supposed to want, even if it's not good for you.
Yeah, it's also sort of like, to me, it's very much like winning the lottery, because she goes from living in a very middle class sort of situation, or maybe even upper middle class situation, to being ultra super rich. And even more than that.
Did I tell you I'm writing a short story where everyone turns into vampires for a day for a horror anthology I'm going to try to get into?
No, but we'll come back to that later.
I think it should be interesting.
What the heck were we talking about?
Columbus
Christopher
Day
Columbus?
and imperialism. Yeah. I got your back.
I remembered. Did you not hear me remembering? I fucking remembered.
Yeah, you got it. I was impressed. I had your back in case you didn't.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But you did. So nailed it.
Where are we going with this, though? Back in time through Twilight.
I don't know where you were going with that tangent. Oh, Marco Polo was greater than Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
And we should celebrate actual heroes.
Oh, and so actual heroes, and so the question, the thing with I was going with Marco Polo is that maybe it's racist in a way that I didn't pick up on.
Yeah, I think it's important that like up here in the civilized state of Washington, we have Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yay!
Where we celebrate the people who were here before us, because we're all immigrants in America. Mm-hmm. Some of us are descended from forced immigrants. Mm-hmm. But we're all immigrants here.
Yay, immigrants!
And it is ridiculous to act like we're not.
Yeah, it is really ridiculous to act like we're not. It really is. Also, I think that putting Christopher Columbus and subsequently the continent and people that he quote-unquote discovered so far in the past, I think can be very damaging, I want to say. Because it's like saying that those cultures don't exist anymore, and that in and of itself sort of hurts the people that do still exist today. Maybe that was also where I was going with Twilight, is that the Quillets tribe is a real tribe that still exists today. And like they got none of the money from Twilight.
Well, but the people of Forks got a lot of money from Twilight, and still do apparently.
Yay. It's a big tourist spot.
So that's something. Apparently it is. Especially, I mean, she just did the rewrite, so...
Yeah, which is interesting that Stephanie Meyer's gender swapped her whole book.
I actually think that that's a cool idea. Like, as someone who's going to go on my, my thing next year, where I take the non-cis white male challenge...
Oh, yeah.
I find her active gender swapping things really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I thought it was actually kind of interesting. I might have to check it out. We'll get back to it. Anyway... But yeah, I don't think that Christopher Columbus was that kind of wide-eyed, push the boundaries, I have like a big dream kind of adventurer. He wasn't really an adventurer. I don't know, maybe he was in that he had an adventure, I guess. But he wasn't...
I don't think having an adventure makes you an adventurer.
I don't know, what about Bilbo Baggins? He was an adventurer, he had an adventure. But maybe you wouldn't put Bilbo in like the same class. I did, but maybe you wouldn't put Bilbo in the same class as like Strider, as Aragorn or Legolas. They have a lot of adventure. They're adventurers. That's their job.
Yeah, I would definitely put. I think Aragorn was an adventurer. I think Merry and Pippin and Bilbo and Frodo and Samwise are people who had an adventure. And I think after their adventure, like, they'd grown, but they went back to their normal lives. Whereas Aragorn, like, got married to Arwen, but still was kind of an adventurer.
Yeah.
Legolas would definitely have been an adventurer, even though he's an elf.
Yay!
In a fascinating turn of events.
I don't know where Christopher Columbus would be in all of that. I just think that there are better examples of people that went on adventures rather than Christopher Columbus. What else did Christopher Columbus even do? Like, he came to the Caribbean and then he like came back. He made a couple of trips. He did like 2 or 3 trips, I think. He
made 4.
4.
4.
So that counts as being an adventurer. Christopher Columbus officially an adventurer.
Officially. Gotcha.
I think it counts.
4 trips. But he came back to exploit people. Like, he didn't come back to explore more. He came back to steal stuff.
Yeah. And, like, genuinely hurt people and, do not kind
Well,
things.
he was converting them to that thing you love. He was converting them to religion, which you love.
Not even their own religion. They already had a religion.
Yeah, but their religion was inferior because it wasn't his. Like, Christopher Columbus was a bad guy.
I think
But
this is something that happens a lot in California that I think I have a really hard time convincing people that were raised in California, or some people that I have met that were raised in California, which is just how bad the missions were in California. And they're like, no, they taught them how to read and write. And I'm like, yeah, and like enslaved them and killed them if they didn't, or tried to leave the mission and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no.
Whoa. Hold on. Do people actually say the missions taught them how to read and write?
Yes.
And you respond to them, English? They taught them how to... They already had their own native languages?
Yeah.
It wasn't that the Native Americans couldn't read and write. The Native Americans didn't read and write Spanish. It wasn't even English. They didn't read and write Spanish.
Yeah.
Because they had their own languages.
And at least in Mexico and in Central America, they also had their own writing, which was hella awesome.
Yes. Well, and like I said, I'm trying to get the Indigenous Language Institute to do Duolingo courses, because Irish, which is a dying language, is on Duolingo now, and it has over 1 million people learning it. And like, as someone who grew up in Nebraska, one of the cool things about growing up in Nebraska, otherwise, other than it being a Seleucia Secundus style hellscape, is that there's lots of Native American tribes and Native American like labeling stuff there.
Yes.
And so, like, you learn a lot about, like, Indian and Native American history.
I would say that you learn some. Maybe you learn more because you were, like, a bigger nerd than me, but I did learn some. As a kid that was somewhat of a nerd, but also really lazy.
As a lazy nerd, I learned less than you did about the
everything.
About everything. Maybe that is actually a fair description.
I try to be fair. Are we dying?
But we're not dying. We're just not succeeding particularly well.
Okay.
And I don't know if jumping out will help because this is the exit. So I think we have to win this fight.
Uh-oh.
Which is sort of unfortunate.
I believe in you, Zero. But yeah, so in Nebraska,
it's good one of us
in home ec class, we did learn how to make like fry bread, and we learned. My husband made a Omaha native language cookbook and stuff, and me and food. I will learn so much faster if you include food.
Yeah, before we hit our final thoughts, I do actually want to bring up something your husband did after college. Wasn't your husband's first job out of college, like, helping to preserve Native American languages?
Yes, it was, actually. Recording.
Yeah, via recording.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really important, though.
Yeah, well, going back to, like, missions and things, though, they burned a bunch of the codices of Native Americans and Central Americans.
Oh.
So they had their own books. And they were like, no, that's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then...
So horrendous to me.
I know. They had, not exactly the Library of Alexandria, but they had libraries that Christians burned. I don't know how else to say it other than just Christians. Christians fucking burned these libraries.
Yeah, missionaries burned them.
So fuck you, missionaries.
Those missionaries were Christian.
It's not good. Not good at all.
Chicory's hatred of religion is well discussed in this cast. So, final thoughts.
Final thought is Columbus Day didn't actually come to... I mean, I don't think that Italians need that big of a shout out anymore. They have The Sopranos, which is, like, really mean.
Harsh.
Yeah, that's really mean. I said that, and that's my terrible joke of the week.
That's cold.
It is really cold. But also partially serious. Like, I don't know if Italians are still need it, but I feel like it's no longer as helpful as it once was. Maybe that's like the most correct way. It's no longer as helpful as it once was. And now other people need more help, and Native Americans... Are you okay, Zero?
Yeah, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay. Native Americans need more help, and they need, like, an indigenous... what they don't need is an Indigenous Day. We just need to be learning more about, longer American history, like the last 10,000 years instead of the last 200 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I will officially, and we should try to get this in the notes if we can, I'm going to re-recommend Collapse by Jared Diamond, and its discussion of, like, how the Native Americans fought off the Vikings when the Vikings first landed here, and all the stuff, the Native Americans, but I guess before they were Indians, the indigenous peoples were awesome. Like, they did lots of amazing stuff that we don't learn about. And I'd highly recommend that book for learning about kind of cool stuff they did.
It's true. That's also something I feel like is unfair to the Pilgrims versus the Native Americans, is that it's not like people didn't know about America before the Pilgrims came. People had been wanting to settle east coast of America for a long time, but people, like indigenous people, fucking lived there and were like, no, you can't live here, we live here, fuck you, get away. And then basically the apocalypse went down on the East Coast, and 9 out of 10 people died. Whole tribes were like what is the inverse of decimated? If decimated is 1 in 10, what is 9 in 10? Like, only one survivor.
So you can either say devastated, which works, or decimated, since World War I has just kind of been a general term for
I'll say devastated.
Heavy destruction.
Yeah, devastated by this. And then, since everyone was gone, pilgrims could come in and settle. So yeah, it was crazy. It's not good. How are we doing on the game, bud? What are your final thoughts?
We're doing really good, actually.
Really? It seems like people are dying.
Thoughts.
Oh no, we cloned them back.
But yeah. Yep.
Good final thoughts, Zero.
What are my final thoughts? My final thoughts mostly just come in the realm of, we do a terrible job teaching history in this country.
Oh yeah, totally.
I want us to do a better job teaching history in this country, but to do that, we're really going to have to start looking at, I guess we really just have to start looking at what is important to us as a nation. And it's weird because we talk about how important it is for us to be like this and that, and to really show, like, we talk about how important it is that, like, people don't come in and not learn our language and take over our stuff, and it's really just because we're scared of people doing to us what we did to other. I posted a thing on Twitter that there's a certain subset of the American populace that legitimately thinks a peaceful protest and a lynching are the same thing, because they can't tell the difference between being criticized and being attacked. And we really need to learn, like, one of the things you do when you study writing in college is you learn how to be critiqued, because it's really hard to take criticism in this country. We don't like it. We are anti being criticized.
Do you think that is something that is solely American, though? I think that it's, I guess as an American, I have a hard time taking
American
criticism, but I think that is maybe just a human thing that people just could get better at.
I don't know that it's necessarily a human thing. There's lots of religions that encourage you to critique and inspect yourself. So saying it's a human thing is not necessarily true, or at least that there are lots of groups that have said in the past, well, even if it is a human thing, we should be better. And I'm not against saying we should be better, and we should work hard at being better.
Yeah, and it is hard work.
And thought, and not being in a lightning storm like you just were.
Shut up, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so those are the final thoughts.
I don't know if I can save till I'm out of this battle.
Really?
Yep, let's try to... Maybe I can. Can I save in battle? I can.
Use this chance to escape!
I can't escape. My FTL drive isn't hyped up, but I think I'm going to win, so it shouldn't matter.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna win.
Woohoo!
So yeah. I mean, I think those are the final thoughts there.
I mean, let's just hate on Christopher Columbus a little bit more. Also, who has a name like Christopher Columbus? What else did he do that was so bad?
Don't make fun of his name.
I know, that was very ad hominem of me.
Besides show up on American soil and tell everyone living there, like, you're now part of Spain because people don't like me and I got something to prove.
Was it Spain or Italy?
He was working for Spain at the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He is Italian. He's from Genoa, and he was working for the Spanish.
I see.
All right, we won.
Yay!
Let me save. All right.
Hold on. I want to see the end of the battle, and it's lagging. Doop, doop, doop.
Maybe
Getting shot up. Oh, there. Yay. Okay.
I did.
Anyway, please watch it. Thank you for... what am I saying? Anyway, thank you for... Shut up. Anyway, thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe. And hit us up on Twitter. I am 123chicory. And 0 is @0utopia. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.